Hi, my name's Paul Grogan and welcome to my Games of the Month video log for January 2026. I'm recording this video on January the 29th, 2026, and I'm going to be talking about all of the games that I've played since the last video log, which is pretty much all of January, at least up till yesterday. I'm hopefully going to get this video edited later on today and then up for Patreon supporters tonight and released tomorrow, which will be Friday, the 30th of January. As always with these video logs, I'm first going to talk about all of the games that I've been playing. I'll cover some online gaming. I'll give you a Patreon update, talk about where the charity money is going, and give you an update on what's coming next month. So first up on the 2nd of January is Feya's Swamp. This was a live playthrough, so it is on the channel if you want to go and watch it, and this was not a sponsored playthrough. So if you just want to hear our detailed thoughts on the game, we had a good 10-15 minute discussion at the end of the game, and you will find a lot more information in that video about not just my thoughts on the game, but about the thoughts of the other people around the table as well. So yeah, if you want to know more about Feya's Swamp, head on over to the end of that video. I mean, watch the whole video if you want to see a playthrough, but head to the end of the video to find our detailed thoughts on the game. I'm going to summarize things here. So Feya's Swamp was getting a huge amount of buzz at Essen 2025. I was fortunate enough because I work at the event to have an exhibitor's pass, so I was able to get in early, but I was hearing all sorts of stories about, queues of hundreds of people and they didn't have enough games to give away. Certainly the buzz around this game was very, very high. And I think partially because one of the co-designers of this game is one of the co-designers of Terra Mystica, and a lot of people were comparing it to Terra Mystica. Now, does it compare to Terra Mystica? Again, check out the end of the video for my full thoughts on whether it does or it doesn't. Short answer, it doesn't. There's one element which is very similar, but other than that, it feels like a very different game. So I was fortunate enough to come back with a copy and finally got round to playing it. Now, a few things that I want to say about it. First of all, as I've mentioned, the comparisons to Terra Mystica, there's one bit of it that's the same. Second, it's a lot less complicated. A lot less complicated. It's a good game. There's a lot of depth in there, but the rules themselves are not actually that complicated. Now, the rulebook itself is okay in places. There are a couple of major clarifications which are needed. So if you do get the game, make sure you check out BGG for some of the questions, or feel free to ping me if you want to know what those questions are, or watch the playthrough video where I think we get the rules correct. Secondly, did I enjoy it? Yes, I did. And I actually played it again later in January. I taught a few more people how to play it and I played a second game of it. So I've only played it twice. Would I play it again? Yes. Did I prefer it to some of the other SN games that I've covered on the channel in the last few months? Orloy, Covenant, what was the other one? Can't remember. But yes, I did. So I really liked it. And as I say, it was a nice sweet spot of the amount of rules overhead, which was, I'd say, a lot less than Terra Mystica. Medium weight game, but some interesting decisions, and I really love the way that the card play works. So the one bit which is similar to Terra Mystica, Gaia Project, Age of Innovation, is you have these cards, and each round each player is going to pick one of those cards, and it's going to tell them kind of what they do, but then when they pass after they finish taking actions, they will take a new card and put that one back. And there's always 3 available, and the ones that don't get picked get a fish on them. Sounds very familiar, except in this game, the card that you take doesn't just determine a special bonus that you get, that determines the order in which you play. It also determines how much movement points each of your boats has, and it also determines the build cost, and it has a special ability. So that card is massively important and really does influence what you're going to do. And you don't play with all of them. There are 10, I think, in the game, and you only use 3 more than the number of players. So there are always going to be some cards that you don't use. The end of game scoring cards are going to be different. The end of round scoring, yeah. So as I say, I played it twice, I really enjoyed it, and I want to play it more. After we'd played that game of Feya's Swamp, Marcus and Mark stayed late. I fancied another game, so we got out Forestry. Now, me and Mark have already played Forestry a few times, and I like it. I've spoken about this before on the channel. In fact, I did a sponsored playthrough video for Forestry before Essen last year. Yeah, just before Essen last year, I did a sponsored playthrough video for Forestry. Marcus has wanted to try it. He's heard various good things about it. My experience with that game at that particular time wasn't particularly great. Now, I don't know if this was a combination of the fact that I had all the enthusiasm for playing another game, and then when it actually came down to it, I was like, I tell you what, I'm super, super tired. So I don't want to judge how good Forestry is based on the fact that I probably should have gone to bed rather than playing that game. Because I do remember enjoying Forestry last year. I think I played it 3 times. It's just my experience of going back to it. I was like, I'm not sure about it. So the one thing, trying to separate my personal state of tiredness at the time and the game itself. One thing that I have spoken about on the channel a few times over the last few months is that I'm getting a little bit jaded, tired, fed up with recipe games. I'm sure I've spoken about this before. If I haven't spoken about this before in a video log, I have spoken to myself a lot about it in the shower in the morning, which is where I do most of my thinking. Recipe games are basically where you are trying to collect some of this, some of that, and some of that. And when you've got those things, you can then do that. It's a very common mechanism that's used in Euro games. And as I spoke about last time, I don't mind it when there is a thematic reason. I think the example I gave, it might have even been last month's video log. So apologies for repeating myself. If I'm trying to build a tavern, and to build that tavern, I need 3 wood, 2 brick, some slate tiles and some glass, right? I can then build the tavern. That is effectively a recipe game. You are collecting certain resources in order to get a certain thing. What does the tavern do? Well, it generates money because people come to the tavern and, you know, buy drinks and whatever, and I get money from it. Great. Everything about that is thematic. When I'm not keen on recipe games is when there is no thematic connection. So here's a card. Let's call it, I don't know, Armadillo Towers, right? There you go. What do I need to complete Armadillo Towers? Well, you need three yellow cubes, a green cube, a blue cube, and an orange square, right? Okay, what do those things mean? Well, that means this, that means that. Okay, but they're not really the things that you would do. I forget that, Paul. It's a recipe game. Don't worry about it. Right, okay. So I've got those things, and what does it do? Well, it gives me 4 points, a move up a pointless track that gets me another icon that isn't related at all to what I'm doing. Oh, and some commodity that is just a random commodity that has no relation to the thing that I've just built. That's where I start getting a little bit fed up. So, bringing that back to Forestry, that's one of the things that I experienced in that game of Forestry. As much as I liked the game and I liked the core idea and what you were doing, ultimately a lot of the game came down to, I need to have this type of wood that has been treated, this here, right? Okay, I can sort of see that, but what bonuses do I get from doing it? X amount of victory points and some random resources. And that's where I was just, yeah. So, yeah, I'm getting more and more fed up with recipe games that just give rewards that don't bear any relation to, the actual thing itself. So, there you go. That's Forestry. Wasn't a great game of it. Has that put me off playing again? Not sure. Not sure. I mean, I did enjoy it when I first played it, the first few times that I played it. The problem is, as always, there's just too many games to play. So now, would I ever go back to Forestry having had that experience? Honestly, I'm not sure. Next up was Sunday, the 4th of January. Sam and Simon came over from Dorado Games and we did a live playthrough of the old ones of Dorado. This is on the channel now if you want to go and watch it. It was a sponsored playthrough from Dorado Games. Dorado Games came over, taught me how to play, and we played it. It was because they were doing a crowdfunding campaign for the game. However, a few days after that, the crowdfunding campaign launched, and then a few days after that, they cancelled it. So I played the game, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the game here. Not too much, because again, that was a sponsored playthrough that we did. They are looking at relaunching the campaign at some point, hopefully in the not too distant future. So keep an eye out for that. But right now, that campaign was pulled, cancelled, whatever, and they are going back and they are rethinking a few things. So let's get my biggest problem with the game out of the way first. And bearing in mind, this is a sponsored playthrough, but I'm being completely honest with you here. The game was not long enough. And I had to pinch myself at the end of that playthrough when I said to Sam and Simon, I said, I don't think this game is long enough, because That is generally the opposite of some of the thoughts that I have on other games. I've played a number of games over the last few years where it goes on too long, and as a player, you end up being able to do everything the game has to offer. I don't want that in a game. I don't want to be able to do all of that and all of that and all of that and all of that. And in this game, I didn't feel that I did enough. I felt that the game could have done with a few more turns, which would have allowed me to just do a bit more. We didn't finish building the ziggurat in that game, but that's because we actually did make a rules setup error. The graphics on the board, and Simon apologised at the end. He said, look, I forgot this. There was a misprint on the board. They swapped around the 3 and 4 player icons. He knew about it, but then he forgot about it when we were doing the setup. So we were using like the 4 player setup for that rather than the 3 player setup. So we probably would have finished it. But yeah, there was a few things in the game. I liked the card mechanism. I absolutely loved the card mechanism. But yeah, I just didn't feel that I accomplished enough in that game. You know, I don't mind games where you can't do everything, but at least I want to do at least some of this and at least some of this. But yeah. So the card play mechanism, I think, is the USP for this game. And it's a really interesting one. So I'll talk about that. It's basically a closed economy. There are a certain number of cards. I think it's 3 per player. And what you do is on your turn, you can either play a card to one of the 4 areas on the board, at which point you get to trigger the bottom effect of all of the cards and then the action itself. Or, and there's a limit to how many cards you can have in a row, or you pick up a card or you nominate a card already played to the board, activate the top effects of all of the cards and the action, and then take that card back into your hand. So you will never draw cards from a deck because there is no deck in the game. You are basically cycling these cards around between the players and the board, and that is different and it works really, really well. There's a lot of tactical opportunities there to potentially not directly screw up other players, but because there's a limited number of cards in a row, once there's like 3 cards in a row, like, oh, okay, well, nobody else can play a card there, right? Oh, okay, you're going to take a card from there and do all of that. So that makes really clever. The rest of the game was fairly standard Euro stuff. There was moving around tracks, there was getting icons, and there was doing other things. It all worked relatively well, and it was all done in icons, so it was fairly easy to understand. But the card play mechanism was the best part of the game by far. And yeah, hopefully they'll have a look at the game. I don't know, they might change something in the game. If not, I'd potentially play with a house rule that we actually get to play 2 more turns afterwards, just so we feel like we've done a bit more stuff. So that is the old ones of Dorado. Keep an eye out for when that is relaunching on crowdfunding. Right, the next one to talk about is the game that I still have on the table in front of me, The Lost Ruins of Arnak. We started the campaign. So this is the Missing Expedition campaign, which is actually the second campaign for Lost Ruins of Arnak, because when the game first came out, there was a solo campaign that was released as kind of like an online supplement. Lots of people have told me about the Missing Expedition campaign, about how good it is. You can play it either solo or you can play it 2-player, and we started. So we started in January. We are now 3 chapters in. So there are 3 live streams on my channel right now. First one was on the 6th of January, then on the 20th of January, and then on the 27th of January. And that's chapters 1, 2, and 3 of the Missing Expedition campaign. Rick comes over on the Tuesdays and we play the game. So Lost Ruins of Arnak is a game that I was professionally involved in. I did probably a tiny little bit of development work in the very, very early stages of the game. But I also did the official how to play video for the game. And these videos are not sponsored by CGE. So these are just us playing it because we want to play it. But both me and Rick love Lost Ruins of Arnak. It's one of Rick's favourite games of all time. I have to say it's one of my favourite games of all time. It's probably not as high in my top 20 as it is in Rick's top 20. But it is a great game. I've always enjoyed the game. And one thing that I think is amazing about the game is the fact that they've got all of these extra things. It isn't just, here's the game, here's some expansions. It's, here's a campaign game, here's a way to play it. And the amount of effort that they've gone into to make the experience of playing it good, different, interesting. Yeah, it's just a fantastic quality production. And yeah, the campaign itself is really, really good. So if you like Lost Ruins of Arnak, you must play the campaign. It's just a no-brainer, because it is so well done, and every chapter has different rules that makes you think about things in a different way, makes you approach the problem, find a different solution every time you play, customizable difficulty levels if you find it too easy or too hard. Yeah, you've got to try it. If you don't like Lost Ruins of Arnak, you might still like the campaign mode because first of all, it's either a solo or a cooperative game. You might prefer that in games, but also it's worth trying because, yeah, it is just so good. So there are 3 live streams on the channel right now for Lost Ruins of Arnak if you want to watch them. Now, I will say at this point, although these videos are not sponsored by CGE, CGE are helping support the channel by doing a giveaway. So we are actually doing a competition for the whole of the series of Lost Ruins of Arnak. I'll explain how this works for those people who have watched the videos and didn't understand it, or maybe want to know more about it. So there is one big contest, and the giveaway will be done at the end of the campaign. However, it is split into 6 smaller contests, 1 for each video. And you can enter each of those contests once. And the more of them you enter, the more tickets you're going to get in the hat. They're called Arnak tickets. And if you enter each contest individually, you are going to end up with 6 Arnak tickets at the end, which means you've got 6 chances to win. Now, if you are one of my Patreon supporters and you enter the contest, you get an extra ticket into the hat as well. So there's a slight more chance that my Patreon supporters, well, quite a high more chance. You know what I'm saying. If you're a Patreon supporter of mine, as a thank you, because without your support, I can't make these videos and I can't keep the channel going, I want to say thank you by giving you extra tickets. So how do you enter these contests? Well, first of all, you can only enter 3 of them right now, because what you need to do is you need to go to the video, you need to leave me a comment on that particular video, and then you need to click on the link in that video to a Google form where you enter that individual contest. So just to clarify, because when you click on the link to that Google form, it will say, warning, only enter this contest once. What it means is you can only enter that particular contest once. So you are allowed to enter each of the 6 contests once each. And if you do enter all of them, you will get 6 tickets at the end of it. Hopefully that is clear. The winner will get the Arnak full bundle, which is everything for the game except for the big box. So all of the expansions, base game and everything else. Second place, I believe, gets Missing Expedition and Twisted Paths. And third place, I think, gets Twisted Paths. I'd have to look it up. Right, moving on to the 9th of January. And this is another of the new Essen games that I got from last year that I finally got around to playing. And this is the Voynich Puzzle, designed by Danny Garcia and published by Salt and Pepper Games. Now, Salt and Pepper Games were kind enough to send me this review copy of the game. I think they sent it to me before Essen last year to save me having to pick it up at Essen. But I've only just got around to playing it. I actually played it twice on that day. The second of those was a public live stream. The first of those was a practice live stream for my Patreon supporters. I didn't mention this earlier on, but a lot of the videos that I do, which are in preparation or practice games, or that video of Forestry that I mentioned earlier on, that was available for Patreon supporters as a bonus playthrough. But the Voynich Puzzle that we played on the 9th, the afternoon game was a learning game, and that was for Patreon supporters only. But then the public live stream of that was in the evening of the 9th. So again, that's on the channel if you want to watch it. It was not a sponsored playthrough video. Therefore, you will get our honest thoughts on the game, not just from me, but from other people as well, at the end of that video. So in summary, the Voynich Puzzle was a game which, I will be absolutely honest with you, was worrying me before that live stream, because I had heard a string of negative comments about the game. And not just from one person, not just from 2 people, but from a lot of people. Even people who liked the game told me that there were issues with it, big issues with it. So I was like, oh. And even though it's not a sponsored playthrough video, I still feel really uncomfortable when covering a game on the channel which has lots of issues. Now, if I have no relationship with the publisher and I have no idea who the designer is, I have less worry about it. But the designer of this game is Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia, I get on really well with. I have a huge amount of respect for Danny Garcia. I think he's a great person. I think he's a great designer. And I have spoken to him a number of times. And I'd like to say that we've sort of become friends over the last couple of years. But I was worried about this game because of what everybody was saying about it. So I did a little bit of research in advance and I spoke to some of my Patreon supporters. Thank you very much for your help. And they said, Paul, here's some things you need to watch out for. And I am so thankful for their support, because what I did is I actually used that information, and without that information, that day would have not gone successfully. So here's the two big problems with the game. There are a number of problems with the game, but here's the biggest two. First of all, lack of player aids. And I know a number of people have said every game needs a player aid, and I disagree with that. I don't think every game needs a player aid, but this game definitely needed a player aid. The rulebook was okay. It wasn't great. The problems are the lack of player aid, and thankfully there was somebody had done a fan-based one online, and that was great. So we had the player aids. The biggest problem by far with the game is the score track. And if you've watched anybody else's review of this game, I tell you what, if you've watched a review of this game and they didn't mention the issue with the score track, I would not be watching any videos from that reviewer ever again, because it is by far the biggest issue with the game. So what you have is you have a score track in this game around the outside of the board. And in a 4-player game, there will be 20 markers on that score track. 20 markers on the same score track. And you're going to have people, the same markers, or so different markers, on the same space. It's not like, oh, you skip over a space so there can only be one marker per space. No. So they're all fighting for space on the score track. But not only that, each player has 5 score markers themselves, one of them for their main victory points and 4 of them for each of the different categories in the game. And in the original version of the game, it's very hard to tell them apart. There's an icon on them, but it's really hard to tell them apart. So there's 2 fixes for this problem, and that is stickers for the score markers so that you can more easily tell, okay, that's my astrology one, right, okay. But actually it doesn't fix the root cause of the problem, is that there isn't enough space for these components. The other fix is a score track that you print out and you put by the side of the board. And thankfully, somebody has done one. So a huge thank you to the user on BGG, Fluffy, I think they're called. And I've spoken to them afterwards, and they did a score track. So if you've got the game, please just go to BGG, get that file, print it out, and put it there. Right. There are a number of other UI issues with the game as well. The missing fountains, the confusing terminology, but the game itself, I enjoyed the game itself. And I would not have enjoyed the game at all if it weren't for those fixes that we did for the UI issues. And that practice game I had, that practice game in the afternoon was, that was a difficult playthrough, because we spent 5 minutes looking for the fountains and trying to work out where the water comes in from. The public playthrough, if you do go and watch it, there's none of those issues, because we've already been through the painful process of struggling and having to learn it. So yeah, I enjoyed the game. Would I play it again? Possibly once more. It was okay. There are parts of the game that I enjoyed. It is effectively 4 mini games going on, each with their own rules. Some of the rules work differently, like on the water track, you skip over spaces occupied by other people. No, you don't. You push other people on the spaces. On the tree track, you skip over space. So there's different rules for the different areas, but effectively it is 4 or 5 little mini games going on. Each individual part I quite liked. The one bit that I wasn't too keen on is the chaining of actions. Again, I've talked about this lots and lots of times, but there's definitely certain things you can do in the game where, all right, I'm taking this action and I'm going to put a marker there. That gets me this bonus. That bonus allows me to do this action. Okay, I'm now going to do this action and then something. I don't like that in games. And this game doesn't have it on every turn, but there are definitely certain parts of the game which can trigger that going on. So yeah, I enjoyed the game. I thought it was a lot better than I was expecting to like it. But I think a lot of the reasons that people have been switched off from this game is because of the user interface and the difficulty, the physical difficulty in actually playing the games. I remember watching the video from Meeple University who highlighted a number of these issues. And thank you very much for doing that, because it was really valuable. There's one part of the board where there's this jigsaw piece and you've got these tiny little wooden magnifying glasses which are really fiddly. and you've got multiple magnifying glasses all on this tiny area from different players. It's just a physical and visual mess. And the problem is that you are taking more jigsaw puzzle pieces and you are adding them onto this jigsaw. Well, whenever you do that, everything shifts and therefore it moves and you knock the magnifying glasses off. Well, I thought, I've got a solution to this. Blue tack. So for that playthrough video, if you do watch it and you notice that the jigsaw puzzle part of the board, wait a minute, it's not moving. How is it not moving? Paul's like nudging it and attaching pieces to it. Yeah, because I blue tacked it down to the board. So this is my top tip. If you do have the game and you do want to play the game, blue tack that central piece to the board so that it doesn't move. Those things might seem silly, but they actually meant that the game was playable without all of those issues that other people have reported. So that's the Voynich Puzzle from Danny Garcia and Salt and Pepper Games. The next game to talk about is our continuing Earthborne Rangers campaign. And I'm not going to touch too much on this because I've spoken about this for the last 4 or 5 months, but we are continuing our Earthborne Rangers campaign roughly every other Tuesday. We've played it twice in January. Part 9 was on the 13th of January. Part 10 was on the 27th of January. Those videos are on the channel now if you want to go and watch them, if you are interested. Bearing in mind, it is a campaign game. There are going to be spoilers in those videos. We're still enjoying the campaign. We've just done day 10. So I think we're more than halfway through the campaign. What I will say though, is that we had an absolute disastrous day 10. And I want to talk about this because I want to get your opinions on this if you have played Earthborne Rangers. And I'll try not to talk about it in terms of spoilers in any way. But I am very keen to hear your thoughts on this to see if you've experienced the same thing or if it's a problem with the game or whatever. So, on day 10, it started out very well. We were at one location. We were trying to get to another location that was about 4 locations away. And we got this card out and we got a couple of other cards out and we were like, right, so these are not obstacles. So all we need to, and we're not bothered about these. So let's just try and get progress on the location and travel. So Stephen's character is really good at getting progress on the locations. So he was like, boom, 6 progress on there. So we can travel. Fantastic. So turn 1, we travelled. Hey, right. So we moved away from that location. We arrived at the next location. We set it up. We got some cards out and we were like, okay, shall we just put some, yeah, okay. And we did the same thing. There were no obstacles. We got progress on the main location and we travelled again. And he was like, right, this is really good. We're only like 3 cards into our deck. And all of a sudden we're at a 3rd location. And then it all went wrong. So we got into a situation where Stephen's character was under 2 lots of scree. So the scree, shale scree, whatever it is, starts off along the way. Yeah, along the way. And then it moves to within reach. And then if it's within reach of you, it can injure you. Also, we had nasty predators in the area and they were prowling around where Stephen was. Also, he was caught in 2 lots of fractal wire. So, jokingly, he's basically trapped under piles of scree, surrounded by fractal wire. Now, the core mechanism of this game is that you do tests. So a lot of things in the game require you to do a test. When you do a test, you spend a certain amount of effort, which is your energy, cards from your hand, etc., etc. Similar to Arkham Horror, the card game, and other games, right? You say, this is what I'm trying to do, and I'm putting this in, and this in, and this in, and this in. Right, I'm putting this amount of effort in. And then what you do is you reveal a challenge card from the deck of challenge cards. And there's a modifier number on that card, and you modify your effort by that number to work out whether you've succeeded or failed. Like a lot of games. Now, Earthborne Rangers has an extra icon on each of those cards. And this is probably the best part of the game for me, mechanically. And it's because the world reacts to the things that you're doing. And I remember speaking about this when I first started playing Earthborne Rangers. Essentially, if you imagine that this world exists with or without you, if you have 2, what were they called? Sitka books, so basically male deer together, they might start fighting each other. Again, irrelevant of what you do. Or if you've got a male and a female, the male will attack you because it's protecting the female. Or if you've got an injured animal in a corner, the wolf's going to go and try and eat it. Or if there's a wolf that's injured, it'll try and eat the plants because it knows that they've got healing properties. And this is all done through these icons. So every time you flip a card over from the challenge deck, there's an icon on it and the world reacts. Either it starts raining or it stops raining, or the deer attacks, the... what was it that we had? Anyway, the problem we had, and this is what I want to talk about, is Stephen had all of these cards in front of him with, if he draws a certain card from the challenge deck, he's going to get injured, really badly injured, because both of the scree cards were like, oh, okay, if you do a test and you draw a card with the crest icon, you're going to take an injury. And then if you draw a card with this icon, the wolf's going to eat you. And if you draw a card with this icon, the fractal wire is going to deal you damage. Now, whenever a character takes 3 injuries, the day ends and they get a lingering injury. They get a permanent negative card added to their deck. It's something that you want to avoid. So we're like, well, how do we avoid this? Well, literally don't do any tests. So we were in the situation where Stephen didn't want to do any tests whatsoever, because doing a test, whatever that test is, involves drawing a card from the challenge deck, which might end up totally backfiring and injuring him and everything. So we spent the last half hour of that playthrough with Stephen doing nothing. What are you doing on your turn? Nothing. Right, I'll have a go. What are you doing on your turn? Nothing. I'll have a go. I'm not going to say it's a problem with the game, because the game's fantastic, and it was just a very strange situation where Stephen got all of these negative cards on him. But this is the question that I want to ask for you. If you know Earthborne Rangers as a game, have you ever been in that situation where you literally don't want to do any tests whatsoever because doing so would be too dangerous, and therefore you are out of that game for that particular session? That's what I want to talk about. Anyway, the game's still great. We're still enjoying it. The campaign is fantastic. The storyline is fantastic. And we will be back on Tuesday for part 11. So the first Tuesday in February, Stephen is coming back over and we will be continuing our Earthborne Rangers campaign. Right, what's next? Uprising, Curse of the Last Emperor. This is a game which I was very, very excited about. So Uprising, Curse of the Last Emperor is a game which I don't think many people have heard of until I actually start speaking to people and they go, oh yeah, played that game, it's great. It's like my top 5 games of all time. And I'm like, a year ago, I'd never heard of this game, but suddenly, not suddenly, but at the end of last year, I started finding out that, yes, this game is really popular, it's really well liked, lots of people rave about the game a lot, and I was very looking forward to playing it because so many people have told me how good it was. And we did a sponsored playthrough video for this. So this was on the 16th of January. This was a sponsored tutorial and playthrough of Uprising, Curse of the Last Emperor. It is on the channel now if you want to go and watch it. Rick came over in the afternoon and we did a practice game of it. And then he came over, he was still there. And then after food, we did a public playthrough in the evening. So what is Uprising, Curse of the Last Emperor? Well, it's a solo or cooperative game. I say solo. At the moment, if you buy the game, if you play solo, you have to play 2 factions. But in the latest version of the game, they have done a true solo mode, which will be out fairly soon. So it's a cooperative game, 1 to 4 players. And the theme of the game is actually really interesting. There was this empire. This empire is sort of being crushed and been destroyed. You are rebels, all of the players. Each player is a rebel faction, and you're fighting against the empire and the remnants of the empire. And the empire is bad, and it's trying to hurt you. But at the same time, there is chaos coming in from the outside. So I've never seen this in a game before. But effectively, the players are working together to try and fight against the empire, and also there's 2 bad guys, the curse that's coming in from the outside. And what's really interesting about this game is the curse, they're trying to get rid of you, but they're also trying to get rid of the empire. The curse hordes that come in from the outside of the board, their default movement is they're trying to move towards the empire. And you can end up in a situation where the 2 bad guys are actually fighting each other. And that's happened in every game that we've played so far. So it's a really interesting game. It's kind of I don't want to use the term 4X too loosely, but there's 4X elements to the game, but it's the fact that it's a cooperative game. And that's what's really interesting about this, because so many games like this come out, which is all just player versus player, and this one is not. It might look like that on the surface, but it's actually not. And it's also a victory point game, because ultimately, the way that you win is at the end of the game, if all of the players have got more victory points than each of the bad guys' factions, then you win the game. But if one of them has, at least one of them has more victory points than at least one of the players, then you lose. So yeah, it's really fascinating. The other thing that I like about the game, the production quality is really good. For first-time designers, they've done a really polished job with it. The table presence is great, the standees are great, the gameplay is great. But one other thing about it that I really, really like is that the game lasts for a maximum of 4 chapters, but you can actually play as many as you want. You can play just chapter 1 if you want to, or you can play chapters 1 and 2, or you can play chapters 1, 2, 3, or you can play chapters 1, 2, 3, 4. You can end the game after any chapter. And what we did in the playthrough is we actually did, at the end of chapter 1, we said, okay, so if the game was to have ended now, what's the situation? Would we have won? Then at the end of chapter 2, if the game was to have ended now, would we have won? We played to chapter 3, and that's where we ended the playthrough, but we could have played to chapter 4 as well, if you wanted to. So you can customize the length of the game. I want to play this game more. This is a game which for me is a keeper. Bearing in mind this was a sponsored playthrough video for the game, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. It does deserve all of the credit that it gets from its fans. And if you are interested in hearing more about it, then check out the playthrough video that we did on the, what day was it? 16th. 16th of January. Uprising, Curse of the Last Emperor. Gets a thumbs up from me. The 22nd of January was a very, very exciting day for me because I got to play Speakeasy. So for the last 2 months, I have been working really hard behind the scenes on the official how to play video for Speakeasy. It's been approximately 85 hours of work for me in total to create the how to play video for the game. And so many times during the creation of that video, I was like, I really want to play this game. And you might think, well, why don't you just go and play it then? Well, yeah, don't have the time. So I was spending my days writing the script, doing the filming, doing the editing, and all of that time I was like, this game looks really cool. I really want to play this game. And the more and more I work on a how to play video, most of the time when it's a game that I think I'm going to like, I get really invested in it and I think, oh, this game's going to be great and everything else. And finally, on the 22nd of January, and this was a live playthrough on the channel, if you want to go and watch it, we got to play it. To be fair, that was my second game of it because right at the start of my process of creating the how to play video, I had a practice game. Stuart learnt it, Stuart came over, and I actually did a Patreon-only bonus stream where I played my first game of it. But the reason why the one on the 22nd was my real first game is that learning game that I did at the start of December, or maybe even end of November, whenever it was, that was very much a learn as you play. I didn't learn the rules and then we played the game. Stuart came over and I started playing the game and he was explaining the rules as we went along. This is the way that I like to learn games. I don't want to know... Well, basically, my brain can't take a 1-hour rules explanation before I then place a piece on the board. I just want to... Right, I'm learning this game for the first time. This is not going to be a proper game. I'm just going to do that action there. I don't even know what that action is, but that's the action I'm going to do. Now tell me how that action works. And that's how I like to learn games, is by actually just doing the things and learning each individual bit as I'm doing it. The 22nd is where I actually went into the game going, right, I now know how to play the game and this is what I'm going to do. So, bearing in mind, I have a very good relationship with Eagle Gryphon Games and with Vital Lacerda, and I have done paid work for this game, as I have done for most of Vital's games. Putting that aside, Speakeasy might become my #1 favourite Lacerda game. It might. It's that good that it is competing with things like On Mars, Kanban EV, although I do really like Vinyos 2016. Yeah, there's a few other Vital Lacerda games which I would class as my favourites. And this has definitely gone up there in my favourites. The theme of the game really comes across in the game. I like the way that Vittel has created the game with his ethos of, I don't want negative player interaction. So some people were disappointed by this game because they wanted gang warfare. They wanted players to be going around and shooting each other and doing drive-bys and blowing each other's buildings up. It's not that. This is a Euro game, and whilst there is fighting in the game, it is not the players fighting each other. There are mobsters that you can fight against, and the mobsters can fight against you. There are the rum runner ships that you can ambush and try and steal their cargo, but there is no player versus player direct conflict in the game. If there was, I wouldn't play it. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to play games like that in general, certainly not of a Lacerda complexity. So yeah, Speakeasy, at the time of me filming this video, the how to play video is now available. So if you are interested in learning how to play Speakeasy, or even if you have played Speakeasy, I would still recommend checking out my how to play video for two reasons. First one, you might watch my video and realise you've actually been playing something wrong. A few people do that, and if you are one of those people and you do watch my video and you think, oh wow, I've been playing a bit of this game wrong, please leave me a comment on the video and let me know, because I'm always interested to find out that. But also, since the game came out, they have changed one of the rules. They have made an official change to one of the rules, and I talk about that in the video. And it's the rule about discarding city tiles, and I cover that in the video, and I specifically say the rules have changed since the game came out. This is now the rules of the game. And I don't believe at the time of me filming this video, they have actually announced it on their website or BGG, but it is an official change. I have had it confirmed from Eagle Griffin and Vittel that this is the official rule for the game. So yes, playthrough of Speakeasy. Will I play it again? Absolutely. Would I? I mean, I joked, but after that game of Speakeasy, I wanted to play it again. I literally wanted to play it again straight away, but unfortunately the other two had to go home. And then I was thinking, oh, maybe I could get them back at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. I know I'm busy and I know they're busy, but maybe if we, oh no, So I'm getting fairly desperate to play it again. I'm going to be taking it with me to a games convention this weekend, although I'm already pretty booked up for most of my games this weekend. But I'm taking it with me, and I might be able to get a game of it. So that is Speakeasy from Vittel Lacerda and Eagle Griffin Games. Right, the next game I want to talk about is the Malice of Light Adventures. This is from Adam and Brady Sadler, and this is the next game in the series of games from them, similar to Warhammer Quest Adventure card game and Heroes of Terranoth. I say the next game in the series. It's not a series of games. This is a new game. It's a standalone game, and it's got the same designers, but it's being published by a new publishing company called Twin Tail Studios, which is Adam and Brady's new company that they've set up to create this game. The reason why I sort of say it's in a series of games is there are many mechanical similarities between this game and the other games. If you've enjoyed Warhammer Quest Adventure card game and or Heroes of Terranoth and or some of their other games, I've heard it compared a little bit to Street Masters, which I've not played myself, but definitely check out this. So my playthrough video is on my channel now. This was from the 23rd of January, Friday 23rd of January. There is a playthrough video on my channel of the Malice of Light Adventures, and it is coming to crowdfunding. I'm going to say February 10th. I might be wrong. I think it's in about a week or so's time, but I might be getting mixed up. But anyway, definitely check it out if you're interested in this game. It is a fantasy cooperative adventure game where you play over 3 acts and you're trying to defeat a final boss. So Act 1 is trying to fight against monsters and level up your character. Act 2, tougher monsters, trying to level up your character. Act 3, final battle with the boss, is how it plays. Do I like the game? Yes, I like the game. I'll be honest with you here. Now, bearing in mind, this was a sponsored playthrough video for the game. But honestly, after I think I did 2 or 3 practice games where I was learning the rules, and I have to give a shout out to Steve from Co-op Guild, other YouTube channel who has also done a playthrough video on the game. Steve really helped me with the rules of this game, so thank you very much to you for that. And also to Brady Sadler for being there for live rules support when I needed it, when I was learning the game. But after I'd played my second proper in-depth game of it, I came away from it thinking, I kind of wish it didn't have the board. Because I really like Warhammer Quest Adventure card game. I really like Heroes of Terranoth. And I love the way that there isn't a board. You have cards which are either in front of you, which means that's monsters that are engaged with you, or there's cards in front of other people, which means that's monsters engaged with them, or you have cards in the middle of the table, which represent cards that are, I think it's called in the shadows, but basically cards that are not, or monsters that are not directly engaged with an individual character. For example, archers. They would stay in the middle of the table and they would shoot at people, whereas melee characters would stay in front of you. And that's how those two games work. Malice of Light Adventures brings a board into it, so you've actually got a board with pieces and moving around, but you've also got the cards in front of you. And I think I was struggling to get my head round the fact that, okay, so there's a goblin on the map in the same area as me, but that goblin card is in front of you. So it's your monster that's engaged with you, but it's actually in the same area as me on the board. Once you get your head round that, that's the tricky bit, and I think I was struggling a bit. Anyway, after we'd done the live playthrough, and again, that's on the channel if you want to go and watch it, after we'd done that playthrough video, we all had a discussion about the game, and I was like, okay, I get this now. It is so tactical. It is more tactical than the other games because you have that interaction between the cards in front of you and what's on the board. And I think we did an extremely good job of showing off the tactical aspect of that game in that video. Now, bearing in mind, compare my videos to the other videos on the game from people like Colin from Meet Me at the Table, Steve from Co-op Guild, and Mike from One Stop Co-op Shop. The video we did is longer. Much longer. We are 3 players, and it was a live stream. It wasn't edited. So all of that thinking time and all of that discussion time, which is real, no disrespect to anybody who does edited videos, but our video was more like what a real play time would be. And if you just listen to the tactical discussions that we were having, that shows the depth of the game. And at that point, at the end of that playthrough that we did, I was like, oh, wow, there's a lot in this game and there's a lot to take into account and there's a lot to think about. So yeah, definitely check that out if you're interested. Again, what we showed you was a prototype of the game, but it will give you a good idea as to how it plays. Did I like the game? Again, it was a sponsored playthrough video, but of course I like the game. I'm a big fan of Adam and Brady and the designs that they do. Been a fan of theirs for years. And in fact, I'd been messaging Brady like every week for the last 2 years saying, when you're doing a new game, when you're doing a new game, when you're doing a new game. I'm joking, not every week, maybe every month. But yeah, big fan of theirs, like what they do. And yeah, been waiting for another game. And Malice of Light, just so you know, and you can see the book up there, it's a series of books written by Brady Sadler. So what they've done is they've actually used the IP from the books to create the game. So that's really cool that there's a tie-in with the books. I haven't read the books yet. I've got them on Audible. But yeah, once I've finished my latest Terry Pratchett book that I'm listening to, I might start listening to that. So Malice of Light Adventures, coming to crowdfunding at some point. I think it's Game Found in about a week or so's time. Definitely check out the video if you're interested in that. On the 25th of January, our Agemonia campaign group met up for the first time this year, and we played the next scenario of Agemonia. Now, this is not on the channel. This was played downstairs on the dining room table, so not on the channel, not live streamed, but we continued our Agemonia campaign. And again, like I've mentioned in the last 6 months video logs, I'm not going to go into too many details because I've talked about Agemonia a lot. We are level 4 and we did a side scenario, which was scenario 21 or 22, and it was epic, and we didn't finish it. We didn't finish it and we had to leave because we'd booked into an escape room later on that day and the scenario took us a lot longer than we thought. So it's actually, we had to literally stop mid-scenario and write everything down and take loads and loads of photos of where everything was, and we will continue playing it another time. But yeah, Agemonia campaign, still fantastic, still loving it. Still, in my opinion, the best fantasy cooperative narrative-driven story adventure game that there is. So yeah, that's Agemonia. Then, on Monday, the 26th, I did a sponsored playthrough of SETI with the Space Agency's expansion. So this is an interesting one because I have already given my opinions on the game SETI about how I think it's a great game. I absolutely love it. It's just such a fantastic game for so many reasons. The theme of the game, the production of the game, the gameplay, everything about the game SETI, I love. And I've done some videos on it before, and I've spoken about it before. And then CGE contacted me and said that they'd like to sponsor me doing a playthrough of the Space Agency's expansion. And I'm like, okay, so I'm doing a sponsored playthrough video of the game with the expansion. And because it's a sponsored playthrough, I can't give my opinions on the game. But everybody I know already knows that this is potentially what I think is the best game that came out in 2024. So it's very, very difficult for me to put aside my personal feelings on the game when I then get asked to do a sponsored playthrough video afterwards. So let's just get it out there. SETI is one of the best games that came out in 2024 and my personal second favourite game of 2024. I think, I don't know, on a different day, SETI and Civolution. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if I could just say that they were joint favourite games, the more I play SETI, the more I enjoy it. But Civolution is also something very special for me. So anyway, SETI is an amazing game and I love it. Space Agencies is fantastic. It's a great expansion and it definitely adds to the base game. Is it needed? No, it is not needed. And when I say needed, the base game of SETI is an amazing game. The new expansion is not needed, but if you like SETI, you might as well get it because it does make the game better. But it's not needed, right? When I say that, if you say something is needed, it means there's a problem with this and you need this to fix this. There's no problem with this. It doesn't need this. So, yeah. What does it introduce? Well, it introduces 3 new aliens, so you've got more variety. But it also introduces space agencies, which means each player has an asymmetric start to the game. You've got an individual power. There's 11 different ones available, so that's quite cool. It also introduces quick start rules. So instead of the normal round 1 of the game, what you have is you have these quick start tiles, which essentially means that players will start with something on the board. So in our game, for example, I started with an orbiter in Jupiter. I didn't get anything for putting it there, but that's what it was. So it kind of simulates the first round of the game, which is great. Does it make the game shorter? Actually, no. So even though you're only playing rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5, there's so much more now that you can do that the actual length of the game is the same. So if they'd have, I mean, I guess you could play with space agencies and not the quick start rules, but I think the game would be a bit too long. I don't see why you couldn't do that. It's probably not recommended. But yeah, the quick start rules and the space agencies and the new, yeah, it's just great. I love SETI. I think it's a fantastic game. If you want to see the expansion, check out the video. At the start of that video, which unfortunately is in 720p because I had some technical issues, but it does switch to 1080p later on. But at the start of that video, I explain what's new in the expansion, and then we do a playthrough video of it. So yeah, that was SETI. And then the last game I want to talk about is Ironwood, because after the Earthborne Rangers game a couple of days ago, which I've already spoken about, there was about an hour free, and Stephen was like, yeah, I can stick around for another hour. So I wandered around the house looking for a 2-player game that would take about an hour, and I found Ironwood. This is my first experience with the game. This is published by Mind Clash Games. Came out a year and a half ago, I think. Lots of people were talking about it. I didn't do any videos on it at the time, but Mind Clash Games were kind enough to send me a copy of it. So this was my first experience with it. Me and Stephen sat down, we learned how to play the game from the rulebook, and we played it. We played most of the game until we realised we were getting a rule fairly wrong, and then we were like, I'll tell you what, it's 5:15, probably need to call it. This was a Patreon-only stream, so if you are one of my Patreon supporters, I did this as a bonus extra playthrough. It's not on the public channel because it was very, very rough. We were learning how to play it from the rulebook and trying to play the game. My initial impressions were that I enjoyed the game, I liked the two-player asymmetric nature of the game, and I want to play more of it. Let me know if you've played Ironwood. Is it worth me getting more into, or did you play it? Did you not like it? Yeah. And the same comment, to be honest, goes for all of the other games that I've talked about. I'm always very interested when I do these video logs to find out which of the games I've talked about you've played. Were there any of them that you've played and you didn't like? Were there any of them that you played and you really liked? This is Paul in the editing room, and as I'm editing this video, I realised that I did forget to talk about one game that we played in January, and this was me and Vicky together. We played the Morrison Game Factory, which is a puzzle escape room style game. I talked about it last month because we had played sort of the first half of it with my dad, but me and Vicky finished it, and what I want to say is I think this might be the best puzzle-y style escape room game thing that I've ever played. This game was just great. Really enjoyed it. And I think one of the reasons why it was great for me and Vicky is that the difficulty of the puzzles were perfect for us. They weren't too easy. They weren't too hard. Some of them we had to really, really think about, but it was just really well put together. The story behind the game, the idea of it, the narrative, the way that the puzzles were put together. We are definitely going to be getting some more of these games from this company. I think the company is called Post Curious. And thank you very much to Vari for lending me this one, because I'd never heard of this company before. And yeah, if their other games are anything like this, then yeah, definitely interested in getting more of these. Also, in addition to this video log, this afternoon, I will be recording my Patreon-only bonus video log, where I will be actually ranking all of the games that I've just talked about. So if you are one of my Patreon supporters, as well as getting this video, you will be getting another email through Patreon, which will give you access to the bonus video. It's about a 20-minute video, and I will be ranking all of these games that I've just talked about against each other to work out which ones I enjoyed the most, which ones I didn't enjoy. And again, I am usually a little bit more verbose in that video about some of my more detailed thoughts on the games. Although, thinking about it now and what I've been saying for the last 40 minutes, I'm not sure there is much else to say, but I'll try. So that's that. Now, in terms of online games, over the last month, I've played a game of Terraforming Mars on the Hero Co-op website. That was a great game. Always a great game. Love Terraforming Mars. I played Great Western Trail, the original, on Board Game Arena. I played a game of Revive on Board Game Arena. And I think I've played about 22 games of Dead Cells. Now, I talked about this a few months ago, that I'd experimented with Dead Cells on Board Game Arena. I've gone back to Dead Cells on Board Game Arena. I'm playing it solo. I've played about 20-odd games now. And I'm curious, how many people have played Dead Cells, either on Board Game Arena or in real life? I'm at the point now where I'm kind of done with the game, because what I've been doing is I've been playing it more and more and more, and the more you play it, the more cards you unlock, which makes you better. So there is progression, not within a game, but between games. And I've now got enough stuff that I've been able to get to the end boss. Well, I think it's the end boss. I don't know. Three or four times I've managed to get to the end boss. And in 2 of those games, I have defeated the end boss, but I've died in the process of doing so. So I am very, very close to defeating the boss and surviving. And I just need things to go right. But once I've done that, I think I might be done with the game. So I've been loving Dead Cells. I love games that unlock more content and give you a sense of progression over multiple games. I love that in a game. With Dead Cells, I'm in 2 minds about it, because when you start playing Dead Cells, you just can't win, right? You're just not good enough. Your cards are rubbish. You don't have any upgrades. So you play through this game and you're not going to win, but you will earn some of these cells, and then you use those cells to upgrade your cards, which means the next time you play, you'll get a bit better. So I'm coming at it now from 2 ways. And I'm curious to know what you think about this. In one way, I love the leveling up and the progression between games. I love the fact that, okay, I didn't win this game, but I've got these things. I can spend these things to buy these things to make it better for next time. But also, I don't like the idea that essentially they've given you a game which is unwinnable until you get these upgrades. You're forcing me to go through this process, which is a grind. Effectively, it's a grind in order to be able to get the stuff that I need, in order to be able to even win the game. I don't know. Let me know what you think about it. That's the online games that I've been playing. Right, let's talk about the Patreon update. So I think I mentioned this at the end of December, but we had a great month in December for Patreon support. This month's been interesting. I got a number of new Patreon supporters at the start of the year. Thank you very much. But this month, a lot of people have left the Patreon for various reasons. That's just how it is. But on a positive note, as of right now, this morning, the number of active Patreon supporters showing on my page is 1,319, which is amazing. It's higher than it's ever been. Now, as I mentioned, each month, that is a snapshot of where we are now. I can tell you this, in the last week, about 6 people have left. And I think I've had 1 or 2 new people join. So in the last week, it's not been great. But those people that have left in the last week are still showing as active Patreon supporters because their Patreon support doesn't actually, or their access doesn't expire until the end of their payment month. So that's why it's a really weird thing. I get to the end of a week, I've lost 6 people, I look at the numbers and they're the same as they were the week before. And I'm like, well, how can that be? Just wait a week and then they'll disappear. But the positive is 1,319. Now, if you missed last month's announcement, what we've got this current Patreon push or Patreon goal to get to 1,400 Patreon supporters. So I'm only 81 Patreon supporters away, which doesn't sound a lot, but my net increase each month is on average between 5 and 10. So I would say if you are watching this video and you do want to support me directly, remember that this video is not paid for. Nobody is sponsoring this video whatsoever. I'm not being paid any money to create this video. Creating this video is effectively an entire day off work for me, so it's costing me money to make this video. But the way that I'm able to do that, and at least half of the other videos that are on the channel, is thanks to the support of the Patreon. And if you are in a position to be able to support me directly, you can do so at patreon.com/gaming rules. 81 more Patreon supporters is all we need. And then we get to 1,400. And then I will be doing a live playthrough of Freedom in the Galaxy, whatever it's called. Which might be this year, it might be next year, I don't know. I certainly don't want to be pressuring anybody into supporting me on Patreon. The Patreon support is fantastic, and I really appreciate it. But also, if you are in a position to be able to support me and you want to help my channel and things like that, then Patreon is the best place to do it. On screen now is a list of all of the new Patreon supporters that I've had in the last, since the last video log. So this is pretty much in January up to today. Thank you very much to all of you. And again, a big thank you to everybody who has stayed with me as a Patreon supporter. Let's talk about where the charity money goes. So for those of you watching this video log and haven't seen any of my other video logs, you might not know this, but all of my advertising revenue from all of my videos goes to charity. So not just this video, every how to play video, every live playthrough, every Q&A, every video that I do, every penny of the advertising revenue goes to charity. Now, I have to say, and I said this last month, apologies, we are still behind on the charity money. We've got a number of months of backlog of charity, of money that I've been paid from YouTube for the advertising, which we haven't yet given to charity. We are going to. We have a big list and we feel bad about it, but this month's just been really bad for me and Vicky. So last night we sat down and we have decided where 3 charities are going to get some money, and I'm going to tell you about those now. And then next month we're going to do another 3, and then next month we're going to do another 3. The amount of money we give each time is about £500. It's generally between £500 and £600 a month that we give away to charity. So the following 3 charities are going to get about £500. And these are suggestions from Patreon supporters. So the first one is a suggestion from Kath, which is a charity called Chimpanzees. They're a lending library in Bristol. They lend out equipment for free to families with disabled children. And in the past, they've set up various pop-ups during the holidays where families can take their disabled children to play in a safe environment. It's a charity that helps support families with disabled children. We're also making another donation to alzheimers.org.uk. We have donated to them before, But thank you very much to Rasmus for the suggestion of donating more money to an Alzheimer's charity. And the third charity that we're sending about £500 to is a suggestion from Kat. And this is turningtides.org.uk. They have worked for many years to combat the problem of homelessness, and they do a lot of great work, and Kat has got a personal connection to this charity and has suggested it. So there you go, 3 charities well deserving of money, and again, tying the charity money into the Patreon support. A lot of people have said that I'm crazy for donating this advertising revenue to charity. It works out at about £7,000 a year in advertising revenue that I get from YouTube, and that's £7,000 of money that I could have. I don't need that £7,000 of money, and that might sound crazy for me to sit here and say that, but the reason why I don't need that is because of your patron support. Your patron support provides me enough financial income that I don't need that charity money, and being able to donate all of that charity money, all of that advertising revenue to charity, it's amazing. Because I think I spent, when I was growing up, I remember, when I was a kid, donating to charity is something that somebody else did. And over the years, as I've got older and older, I always felt that I probably should donate something to charity, but I kind of never did. And then when I did, I'd slip £5 in and things like this. So I think for the first 40 years of my life, certainly for the first 35, 40 years of my life, I didn't really give anything to charity. And then I suddenly realized that I should be doing that. That is something that I should be doing. So now that we're doing it by, £6,000 or £7,000 a year, makes me feel really good. So yeah, thank you very much. Your patron support means that I can carry on donating all of this revenue to charity that makes me feel good. So it's a win-win situation for all. And as usual, if you have any suggestions for any charities, we are always on the lookout. Please send them to me. Either leave me a comment in this video, send me an email, contact me through Slack. However you want to connect to me, send me your suggestions for charities. They really should be UK charities. We can donate to some charities abroad, but it does make things a bit tricky. But yeah, let me have your suggestions and we'll see what we can do. So let's now talk about the giveaways. And actually, I've got 2 different giveaways this month. The first giveaway that I'm going to talk about is the Patreon only giveaway. So this is a giveaway only available to Patreon supporters, which means the details of that giveaway are not in this video. The details of the Patreon only giveaway are in the other bonus video log that I am going to be filming, hopefully this afternoon. And that's going to be not for a specific game. So I have a whole bunch of games in my collection which are marked as to give away. And the giveaway this month is that if you win, I will basically share that list with you and you can pick some games from that list. So rather than it be a specific game that I'm giving away, you're going to get some games from my collection. We'll see. As I say, only available to Patreon supporters, and the information on how to enter that contest is in the bonus video log. But you do need to leave me a comment on this video log. Hopefully that's clear. The second giveaway this month is a public giveaway. Anybody can win this one. And this is digital keys for Talisman Digital. Nomad Games are the games publisher that do digital versions of board games. They do Fury of Dracula. They do another one that I can't remember. They do Talisman. They do Talisman Digital. They're great, and I get on really well with Nomad Games. I've got a good relationship with them. I've covered Talisman Digital a few times on the channel, and Talisman Digital has just been released on PlayStation and Xbox. So what they've done is they've given me some keys for PlayStation and some keys for the Xbox. I think I've got 4 of each, and I'm giving them all away because I don't want them. And this is available to everybody. You don't have to be a Patreon supporter to enter the Talisman Digital giveaway contest. What do you need to do? Well, you need to do 2 things. First of all, you need to leave me a comment on this video and tell me why Talisman is the best game ever. So that's the first thing you need to do. Leave me a comment on this video and tell me why Talisman is the best game ever. Then what you need to do is you need to click on the link which is in the description of this video, which is the Talisman Digital giveaway link. And on that link, you need to just give me your name, give me your email address, and tell me whether you want PlayStation or whether you want Xbox. So the PlayStation ones are EU only because of some licensing weird things. The Xbox ones are region free. So yes, if you want to win a copy of Talisman Digital on the PlayStation, then it's an EU giveaway only. If you want to win a copy of Talisman Digital on the Xbox, then that's region free. Wherever you are in the world, you can enter that. So good luck to everybody. As I say, I think I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I've got 4 keys for each. So 8 giveaways for Talisman Digital. And that is from Nomad Games. So huge thank you to Nomad Games for supporting the channel with that. Right. So that's the Patreon update. That's the charity update. And that's the giveaways. What have we got now to talk about? We've got coming next month. Yeah, coming next month. More Earthborne Rangers. So Tuesday, Earthborne Rangers. 2 more sessions planned. Arnak campaign. That's going to continue next month. Also, I'm going to be doing a sponsored tutorial and playthrough of Wispwood. Also from CGE. Rurik 2nd edition from Fantasia Games. That arrived yesterday. So there's a 2nd edition of Rurik. And I'm going to be covering that on the first Friday in February. Whatever that is. I think it's the 6th. So that's happening. Also, we are continuing our Pathfinder Adventure card game campaign, which we were going to continue in December, but then things got in the way. So that's happening on the 12th of February. We're doing For the Gods from Mighty Boards. That's a sponsored playthrough of their new game. That's on the 13th. I'm doing a sponsored playthrough of Labyrinth, the new version of Labyrinth from Awakened Realms. That's happening on the 19th. Then I'm doing Heroes of the Shire on the 20th. Cloudspire on the 23rd. Yes, I get to go back and play Cloudspire. And also, there's a new version of Goa, a classic Euro game from about 20, 25 years ago. There's a new version of that coming from Quinard Games on the 27th. In addition to all of that, I am hoping to fit in some extra playthroughs of some SN games that I haven't got round to covering yet. The next ones on the list are Coming of Age, Druids of Adora, and Endeavour Deep Sea. You never know. I might get all 3 of those done in February, but at least one of them, I would have said. And yeah, a couple of things just before we wrap up. First one is, at the end of last year, I did a top 10 games of 2024 video, where I talked about what my favourite games were that were released in 2024 according to BGG. And I have to give a shout out to Dutch Resistance Orange Shall Overcome, because that was not on my list. Now, the reason why it wasn't on my list is BGG had that as a 2023 game. Therefore, when I ran my report, when I ran all of my things, it didn't show up, which means I didn't even mention it. It didn't get talked about in the video. That's my mistake. Well, it is my mistake, kind of. But I said at the very start of that video, I am using data from BGG as for games that were released according to BGG in the year 2024. The BGG entry for that game is 2023, and it's not. The game did not come out in 2023. So unfortunately, that game did not get mentioned in my top 10 games of 2024. I'm not saying it would have made my top 10, but it might have made my top 10, and I did really enjoy the game. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that now. And the second thing that I want to mention is I want to do a shout out for a company called Key Enigma. Key Enigma do escape room style puzzle games, and they have a crowdfunding campaign right now for Treasure Map of the Red Kraken, an immersive pirate escape game. It has currently got 13 days to go, and the reason why I am giving a shout out, they're not paying me for this, they are going to send me a copy of this when it's out. I am a big fan of puzzle-y style escape room games. I've done a couple of games from Key Enigma before. They reached out to me a few weeks ago and said, Paul, is there any chance we can collaborate on something again? And I looked at this and I went, this looks amazing. This looks exactly like the kind of thing that me and Vicky would like, but it's not out yet. So I basically, what I've agreed with them is that I will give that Kickstarter a shout out now on this video log, and they will send me a copy of it when it comes out. I don't know when it's going to come out, and when it does come out, we'll play it and I'll talk about it then, but that's what I've agreed with them. So just to clarify, they are not paying for any product placement here. I'm not being paid to promote their Kickstarter campaign. I'm doing it because I like the games that they make, and they're going to send me a copy of it when it's out. And that's it. I think we are all done. So hopefully I will get this video edited this afternoon. Just a final shout out, thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. As I've mentioned a couple of times in this video, I do rely on the support of the Patreon campaign to keep the channel going. So if you want to support me directly, you can do so at patreon.com/gaming rules. But even if you're not in a position to be able to support me, leave me a comment on this video. I love reading through when I can't sleep, 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm going through the comments. But I do really enjoy reading through the comments that you've got for me on your thoughts about some of the games that I've talked about. Don't forget to let me know which charities you think we should support. Even if you're not a Patreon supporter, you don't have to be a Patreon supporter. You watching these videos is helping raise money for charity. So please send us your thoughts on which charities you want us to support. And that's it. I will be now getting this video edited, but I will also be recording my bonus video log. Again, if you're one of my Patreon supporters, you get access to a bonus video log where I'm going to be ranking all of the games that I've played in the last month. That'll be fun. But other than that, I'm off to full board gaming this weekend, where I've got a 3-player full campaign game planned of Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era. That's going to take pretty much all of Friday and probably all of Saturday. But yeah, it's going to be great. So I will see some of you this weekend down in Torquay, and I'll see the rest of you on another live stream. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-byes.